The largest seabird in the North Atlantic, the gannet has no problem defending itself. With few predators, the number of gannets across the world is soaring. And in Alderney, breeding pairs have found a safe haven on Etacs, a handful of isolated rocks. But the colony is not immune to the dangers of plastic pollution. And conservationists working to protect the local wildlife are growing increasingly concerned for the population here.
So Danielle, there are so many gannets on that rock. What are they doing? Are they building their nests?
So yes, at this time of year they're starting to collect materials to start building their nests. So this should be seaweed material, but unfortunately increasingly we're seeing that they are mistaking plastics for seaweed.
Like this?
So yes, like this is an example. So the black material here is seaweed, but unfortunately things like fishing nets like this look remarkably similar to them. So they're mistaking this and building their nests out of this material instead of what they should be.
So what impact is this having on the gannets?
We do see some entanglement, unfortunately. So this year we're working to monitor that more, record any entanglements that we see, and unfortunately any dead birds that we see who have been trapped by this material. So they might get it wound around their leg, unfortunately, and then we'll be dissecting to see what plastics have accumulated within their stomachs to get an idea of any kind of ingestion that might be occurring. So this hasn't been recorded before, so this will be really interesting to see.
In their attempt to create a safe place to raise their chicks, these gannets are unknowingly putting their young at risk. The Alderney Wildlife Trust now believe all the nests on these rocks contain some plastic, but they don't know how many birds are dying as a result and need to carry out more research. And that means heading out to sea for a closer look.
It's actually quite shocking to see the gannets' nests close up because there's just so much plastic in them. All that orange and green material you can see on that rock, that's plastic.
Through recording the number of entanglements and dissecting the dead birds, the team hope to gain a better idea of how plastic will affect the colony in the long term.
Why can't you remove the plastic from the rock then?
Well, it's logistically it's very hard for this side. I mean, you can see how steep it is here. And the gannets, of course, we don't want to go in there and disturb them too much. And there's just a huge amount of weight as well. So, I mean, if we went on there, we'd have to do it sort of the end of the season in October. That's when, of course, the weather's starting to get worse and it gets wet and slippery. But also the sheer weight of material up there.
Working for the Wildlife Trust, it must be really quite tough to see the birds like this.
Yeah, I mean, from a welfare point of view, it's it's heartbreaking seeing the birds there. Especially at the end of last year, there was about 5 or 6 chicks just abandoned on the island. And of course the chicks, they're desperate. They want to get away. They want to head south. Some of them fly all the way down to the west coast of Africa, but these guys were stuck there, and their parents had given up on them. They weren't being fed, so they just starved to death.
The Trust work to protect the local wildlife. And gannets are not the only birds breeding off the coast of Alderney. The nearby island of Baru is home to 400 puffins and a colony of seals. While there's no evidence that the presence of plastic is affecting the puffins, there is no doubt among these scientists that plastic pollution is having an effect on all the marine life.
We're beginning to realise how bad the plastic situation truly is in the world, but also locally in the Channel Islands. So this year, trying to get into the actual impacts on seabirds is going to be quite crucial. We've really got to challenge ourselves. The situation is getting so bad, has been bad for so long, and we've been blinkered about it. If we don't make changes, even the smallest changes, we're going to sleepwalk into the worst possible situation, and we're pretty close now.
The world over, plastic is entering the oceans at an alarming rate, polluting the sea and endangering marine wildlife. And the story is no different here in the Channel Islands. Animals and birds on these shores can't escape the tide of plastic. These scientists are working to find out just how much danger they're in. Fran O'Neary, ITV News.